So you saw that. I try to do the 170. I'm not even going to bother with it, not even one rep. Feels so heavy. It feels incredibly heavy. So last 3-4 days, I've been listening to a lot of Louie Simmons, and a lot of the things he says is that it's your hips where the squatting power comes from. And so last few days I've done wide squats, box squats, some more box squats, and some good mornings. I've done those 4 things, and they've beaten the hell out of me. The moment I loaded that bar up to 170, I thought, geez, that's a lot of weight. Now, you guys know what I did in the last 3 weeks. I squatted 170 every single day for 3 sets of 5, basically, for the last 2 weeks at least. And so now, with incorporating those moves, I've basically completely smashed my body. And now the thing that I found easy is feeling heavy. So I'm not even gonna attempt this. I'm just gonna go straight to box squatting. And I'm gonna try and bring up some of those weaknesses, because clearly those weaknesses have taken a lot out of me. So I'm just gonna go to box squatting now. I'm gonna warm up, I'm gonna do that. And I'm not even gonna bother with 170. It is what it is. It's not that my strength is gone. I just think there's like a massive residual fatigue here that's kind of spilling over from one day to the other. So I'm not recovering. This is a whole bunch of new stimulus, a whole bunch of new kind of coordination of muscle that I haven't used before. So whatever. I'll just work through it. I'm going to try and bring up my box squat. I'm going to try and work out how to actually do the thing properly. I'm trying to box squat below parallel. I think that's going to have the most kind of impact to my kind of squat. So let's see how it goes. I'm going to put some flat shoes on, and I'm going to get box squatting. It's probably not going to be a lot of weight, but I'm going to try and bring the box squat up somewhere near my natural kind of squatting numbers. So anyway, let me do that, and you guys will have a little peek on how that looks. Now, I've said this for the last few days. I can't believe that I'm box squatting, because the first time I was exposed to box squatting, I watched some of the Westside Barbell box squats, and I was so repelled by it, because it doesn't look like a squat that I would value. It looked like it was cheating. It looked like it was really poor range of motion. It just looked like it's not sport specific. And then last 4 days I listened to Louie Simmons, and he's basically made me believe that the box squats build more hip drive, more hip strength, better than any other movement, and it's the hips that generate athleticism. It's why you run really quickly, it's why you jump really high. It's all got to do with hip power. So if a movement, even though it looks shit and retarded and kind of like shorter range of motion, especially when the guys are bloody doing splits with it, so even though it looks bad, if it's developing athletes and developing some of these abilities, then you'd be a clown not to do it. So I want to use it as a training tool. I don't want to use it as kind of like my end goal. I don't want that to be my primary squat. My primary squat is going to be just the way I squat. But if this ugly looking version of a squat can develop my natural squat, why not? Like, why would you not do that? And Louie Simmons has a lot of people underneath him who have had incredible results. I know some of this stuff is geared. I know some of these dudes are like, you know, they've got knee wraps, they've got briefs, they've got suits, they've got all that. At the end of the day, like, I don't really care. I used to care, but I don't really care, because if somebody can squat 1,200 pounds to a parallel with all that gear on, he's still a strong dude. Like, I couldn't imagine that much weight on top of me. I don't care. Like, try and quarter squat 1,200 pounds. These guys aren't quarter squatting. They're squatting with their feet really, really wide, which freaks me out even more, because I can't even squat 100 kilos really wide. I'm much weaker really wide. So these dudes, once upon a time I thought it was just cheating, but it's freaking hard to have your feet out that wide. So I've finally come around to kind of have respect for them. I used to laugh at it. I used to be like, man, that's not a proper way of squatting, blah, 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 blah. But I've come around now to understand that even if they are doing it in that manner, which doesn't kind of appeal to me, still, it is an impressive feat to have that much freaking weight put through a range of motion. It's not a ATG squat, but even a half squat, a parallel squat, which I don't mind, a parallel squat is also really good, is phenomenal, especially with that wide stance. So anyway, I'm gonna give it the time that it deserves. I'm gonna try and work on it, and I'm gonna see whether there's spillover to my narrow stance squat. From everything that I've heard, Louie says that there will be immense carryover. He even said in one of the seminars that if there was a competition a competition who can squat more in a narrow stance, I would have my guys wide squatting. Think about that for a minute. So wide squats will build narrow stance squats even more effectively than just doing narrow stance squats. I think that the reason is because wide stance demolishes the posterior chain. It demolishes the glutes primarily. And the glutes are the powerhouse of the body. So whatever exercise hits the glutes more ends up producing a better athlete because the glutes are getting more attention. Interesting stuff. Now, like anything, I've listened to a lot of people talk about a lot of different subjects when it comes to strength training, and they're all convinced that they're on the right path. When something intrigues me enough, I will implement it into my own kind of training life, and I will test it and I'll see what's going on. If I find out that it's not working for me, then I'll leave it. But I'm not going to die wondering. I really want to test this out to see whether there's any crossover and whether I can actually develop my glutes. Now, my glutes, to my naked eye, seem like they're well developed. However, there are also 3 different glute muscles: the minimus, the medius, and the maximus. For me, when I look at myself, squatting ATG, I feel like there's a lot of development there. There's a lot of hypertrophy there. However, I find wide squatting extremely, extremely difficult. You would think that somebody with such a big ass would actually find that easy, but it's not the case. I think it's because there's a whole host of other muscles which are at play here, which require to stabilize these positions. For one, I know that my gluteus medius is weak, and it's only going to be weak when you narrow stance squatting and when you're not doing single leg exercises. The glute medius basically forces your knee out, or does this motion. If this is the hip and this is the knee, it's kind of the other way around, but it forces your leg out. I never do that. I never train that. My narrow stance basically doesn't call for that. Whereas with wide stance, the further your feet go out, the more of a involvement the glute medius is going to have, is because your knees naturally want to cave in, because the center of mass is beneath you, it's not away from you, and so everything wants to cave in towards that, and so your glute medius needs to continuously push the knees out to prevent that caving. So that's one thing. And there's also glute medius also, is involved in the abduction of the hip. So let's see how it goes. Even if this thing means that for the next few weeks I'm really, really weak and I don't get the excitement of squatting my normal 170 kilos, that's fine. Like, I'm not going to be that prideful that I'm not gonna, let that happen because of my pride. No, it's okay. I'm gonna ride it out and focus on the goal here, which is to get the box squat better and to get my wide stance stronger. And then hopefully I'll finally catch up, my biology will catch up, and then I'll be able to squat even more narrow stance. Anyway, so that's what it is. Now, this is 3 days in a row now that I can't properly squat. Initially I was like, it's fatigue, it's central nervous fatigue. Now I literally think that it is fatigue and I'm just completely worn out and my hips are just all over the place now. But my hips feel good, don't get me wrong. Like, I actually feel good within myself. I just feel like I'm weak, which is interesting because it basically directly coincides with the introduction of these movements. So I know nothing else is going on. I know these movements are really taxing me out. So yeah, I guess I have to drop the weight now on the bar and focus on bringing some of these lagging components of my body. So let's see how it goes. I'm gonna put some flat shoes on, strip the bar back, set up my rig, set up a box, and we'll go from there. I'm really gonna try and work on the technique as Louie prescribes. All right, guys, give me a sec. All right, so I've set it all up. I've already done one set with the empty bar. Really weak at it. I'm still kind of fine tuning the technique. One of the things that I need to make sure is that my shin bone is completely vertical, because if there's any forward lean of the shin, then the quads are getting engaged, and the whole thing here is to make sure that you're squatting without the quads in a weird way, because I've always kind of focused on using the quads, but now I have to make sure it's all hip. So I'll give you guys a look from behind. I think that's probably the best way to judge what I'm doing. Just notice how far I'm sitting back. The box is at 13 inches, which is around 34 centimeters. So that for me is kind of below parallel. So when I sit on it, my knees are higher than my top crease of my hips. And that's the whole point of this. So yeah, have a look. That's basically it. I'll keep loading the bar until I kind of feel like a heavy set of 5 is where I'm at. All right, so I've got 100 kilos on. So let's see how this moves, and we'll keep going until I get to about. I really want to do 5 sets of 5. I think that's what I want to do with some sort of relative heavy weight. I don't even know what my rep max is here, so I'm just gonna keep going until a set of 5 feels good, I guess. Honestly, that doesn't feel far off of where I need to be. It's quite heavy. I keep feeling the tie in between the glute and the hamstring. I feel like that's where I'm getting the most work here. Anyway, let me have a look at this footage and we'll load the weight up a bit more. All right, 120. Alright, so I've got 140 on the bar now, so let's see how this moves. This might be the top set actually, as in I'll stick here for the 5 sets of 5, hopefully. I don't really know these weights and where I'm at, so technique is not right. The shins are not vertical, I'm probably not wide enough, all those things, but anyway. There's some room for improvement there for sure. But let me get this 140, let me tippy-toe my way through this one. It's real uncomfortable straight off the box, like my hips are just not strong in that position. Really, really weird for somebody that can squat 200 kilos. That mid-range is basically a weak point. Anyway, let me keep working on it. 140. You guys probably can't see that on the camera, but I can literally feel my glute medius, my outer hip working. There's like, if these are my knees, I feel like they're doing this. So my knees want to go in because of the weight, and my glutes keep firing, but they're not strong enough to hold them out permanently. Especially when I start coming off the box. It's like, I'm literally shaking. That's what I feel like in the hips. It's like a battle to keep the knees out. Now, for those of you who don't know, you must keep the knees out. The reason for that is that if your knees buckle in, number one, you're not using your greatest power, which is your glutes, for the lift. And number two, it's extremely bad for your knees. This is how you do your ACL. You do your ACL when you let your knee buckle in. It completely unwinds the knee structures and puts it at the worst mechanical disadvantage possible. So you would rather be way out than way in for knee stability. It's one of the things that I think they were using in the combine. I don't know where I heard this or watched this. One of the tests they use for the athletes in the combine, NFL or NBA combines, is that they get people to jump up for the vertical test, and they measure that, and that's one stat that they keep track of. But the other thing is they watch very carefully what happens to the athlete when they land. So if somebody lands and they kind of buckle their knees in like this, I'll show you. If they land and their knees do this, it is an automatic red flag for them, because that athlete then becomes really likely of injuring the ACL once they get drafted, once they sign their contracts. You can see there's a monetary point here. If somebody gets signed to a big contract and they have this inherent flaw, this pathology that's happening within their hips, then it's a bad investment, right? They might be really impressive, but if they get injured 3 months into the season, then that money is just on the sideline. It's not being used. So anyway, my glutes are weak. Glute medius is weak, and I can just imagine that central nervous system wise, my body is using a lot of energy to keep that muscle firing against that weight. And so maybe that's another thing that's playing into my fatigue. But I'm really battling to keep the knees out. Anyway, let me get this second set. I'm not gonna make 5 sets of 5 with this, no way. Freaking fried. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna record this. I'm gonna do another set of 5. It's gonna be a struggle. I'll get that, and then I might shave off a couple of kilos of the bar and just do like several more sets just for technique, grooving, and just volume purposes. Louie says that this is going to develop into a thing. Louie says you should be aiming for 25 lifts a session. So if I do 3 sets of 5, that's 15, so I need 10 more, but I'll do way more than that with sub-optimal weight, just to groove, you know, drill some of this movement in, because it's so foreign to me and the muscles are freaking dormant that I need to be using. So I'll do this for one more set. By the way, every time I re-rack the bar, I think to myself, I have to drop the damn pins, man, because I'm not wearing the shoes. It makes me less taller, and then I can't clear the pins. But anyway, let me strip this weight off, and I'll do a couple more sets. So I stripped the bar back to 120 from 140, and I did another 3 sets of 5. Freaking rooted, man. It's just surprising that this light of a weight can murder me like this with sets of 5. Definitely a weakness, man. Definitely a weakness. Going down to a box halfway through my range of motion is freaking hard work. After years of squatting full ass to grass and, you know, having the bottom of my squat be at the bottom of the squat and developing power there, to have a box behind me sit halfway through a range of motion, and for me to expect to develop power out of there is really, really hard for me. Interestingly enough, a lot of my lifts fail at this height, just there, around parallel. So it's definitely a weakness. I've maybe been hiding that weakness because of my strong bottom position. So I've kind of had speed from the bottom all the way through the weakness point, and I've kind of hid that, which is why a lot of you guys have made comments, both on here and in real life. Like, you came out of the hole so quickly, man, why did you dump the bar? Stay with it. Well, because I'm really weak in that mid-range probably, and if I can't jump over that mid-range, I'm dropping the bar, because there's nothing there for me. I don't have strength there. So if I don't have strength there, how do I grind something that's, you know, too heavy for me? It's an interesting bit of physics to think about, because I'm strong at the bottom and I'm strong at the top, but the mid-range is really weak. If you think about it from a knee and from a hip point of view, a parallel, the distance is the greatest in terms of the moment arm when the femur is horizontal or parallel with the floor, because your bum's this way, your knee's this way, whereas at the bottom, it's kind of like it's like a wheel, right? This is your knee, and at the bottom of the squat, this is the hip. And when I start coming up, because the distance of the femur remains constant, it comes out, and the moment arm is the largest at the horizontal point, at the parallel point with the ground. And so this is where I fail, because there's the most amount of torque in this point. And when you start coming up, the moment arm decreases, and obviously at the top there's no moment arm because I'm completely stacked. So it makes sense, physics-wise, why I'm getting stuck in that position. And so box squats hammer that point where the femur is at its largest moment arm to the center of mass. So anyway, it's cool that I can get a really good workout with 120 kilos, 140 kilos. So it's kind of cool. It's just programming with this is going to be interesting. I can't do this every day, no way. So this is going to be every second day, and maybe in between days I'll do some, I don't know, some sort of hamstring work or something. I'll think of something. And I'll try and squat every day. I probably should decrease my daily, normal squatting. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I'm still kind of thinking about it. Do I completely let go of, squatting set of fives? Or do I just, I don't know what to do. Do I just go to a single every day and then do my box squats? I'm not sure. These are some of the things I need to work out still. Just got to work on my weaknesses. Simple as that. That's the name of the game. Work on your weaknesses, and everything should improve. It just sucks because, in the last 2 weeks ago, I thought I'm gonna really make a run for it and push through the plateau and whatever. And then I started listening to Louie, and then I'm like, oh shit, maybe I should try this. And basically, Louie Simmons helped me uncover a glaring weakness that I have. This is unacceptable, I should be box squatting more than this, but I'm not. So anyway, that's it for today, guys. It's a long video, but if you stuck around all the way to the end, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. Hope you try some box squatting. I know it's not for everybody, because it definitely wasn't for me even like a week ago. But at least give it a shot and see how it feels. It's gonna feel shit if you're a narrow squatter and you have been squatting ass to grass for a while. This is gonna feel really shit, and there's a lot of value for you there. Catch you next one.